Like clockwork, every time I say that I am done buying inks, that I have everything I need, I always end up falling down an even deeper rabbit hole. Over the last, I would say, 6 months, my collection has gone from this, as far as October, to this at present, and I do have 3 more bottles on the way. Yikes, I know. So I'm here to show you my updated ink collection as of April 2024, and I have been waiting to show these to you all for so long. I've invested in some more J Herbin inks. I've tried Private Reserve, and of course added a lot more Diamine, my absolute favorite, to my collection. So let's dive into some of my newbies that are currently inked. First up, we have Diamine's Ancient Copper, an absolute favorite in the fountain pen community. I was late to getting this ink. It's a cross, as you can tell, between red, brown, a very coppery color. It's similar to Copper Noir, which I had in 2023, as far as 2022 into 2023, but I actually prefer this copper way more, and I'm so glad that I invested in a bottle. It's just as good as everybody raves about it being, and I love it in a stub nib. It rides beautifully with my Twisby 1.1 stub. In the same family of reds, I am not a red ink fan, but I wanted to dive a bit out of my comfort zone, and so I got Monaco Red by Diamine. I got this from Fontoplumo when I purchased one of their limited edition Kawekos. I can't just buy a pen, I always need to buy an ink somehow. I enjoy this Matador red. It's different. It's not a bright red like I typically dislike seeing, and I sometimes use this for headings and headers. I can't see myself writing a full page of text with this ink just because, as I said, red is typically not my thing. It looks a bit too jarring to me, but it's really good for headlines and standing out on a page, whether it's for headers or a quotation on a page and that kind of thing. So it's a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I enjoy having it in my collection nonetheless. What do you think? Up next, we have Damson by Diamine. I am a purple ink girly, and I love a deep purple. I love a cool, mysterious looking type of purple, and I think that's the best way I can describe Diamine's Damson. I write with this a lot. It is very dark, but a fun dark on a page, and I have it inked up here in my Jinhao 82, one of the lighter colors of the 1,000,001 colors that they came out with, and I really enjoy this ink. It's one that if I ever lost, I would definitely replace. You know, a lot of people are doing those things I would replace. This ink would always be one, and I would always restock this particular ink. I love it so much. It's very full of character on a page. Kind of gothic, kind of fun at the same time. I'm curious to see how it looks in a broader nib, like a 1.5, so I will be trying that one of these days. But so far, I'm loving it. Another color that I typically don't reach for is blue. And I tried J Herbin's Bleu de Profondeurs this year, just as another way of exploring things I typically wouldn't go for. I don't like blue ink. I use a lot of blue ink when I first started using fountain pens at the age of around 11 years old in school. Blue ink was all we could use, blue or black, in school. And it reminds me of those days, and I never liked blue. I never liked writing in class with blue inks. However, this was a venture outside my comfort zone, and it's pretty okay. I sometimes use it at work in my work planner, writing down planner items in particular. I like a bit more fun colors in my journals, so I don't really use this for journaling per se, but it's something nice to have in the collection. What are your thoughts on blue ink? Are you a fan? Up next, we have another J Herbin. This time we are diving into Vert Empire. I love a green that is particularly deep, dark, and a little bit of a goldish tone to it. I like warm but dark greens, if that makes sense at all. It makes sense in my head as I say it, and that's exactly what Vert Empire does for me. It is a olivey green, but a dark olivey green, and I enjoy that so much because a bright green is something I wouldn't typically go for. So this is a nice balance. I have it inked up once again in a Jinhao 82, this sort of warm olive green color, light olive green. And I write with this a lot in my journal just because I as I said, I enjoy the color very, very much. And sometimes when I'm writing, let's say about maybe a day that I spent outdoors in nature, or writing about something nature based, I actually like writing with this. If I'm sketching things like trees, plants, flowers, that kind of thing, anything to do with the outdoors that I'm writing about or drawing about, I tend to use this ink a lot, and it's a favorite in my collection. What are your favorite greens? Let me know down in the comments below, because I know everybody has at least one favorite green in their fountain pen collection. This one is mine by far. Up next in the Grey family, we have Diamine Grey. It's just grey. My first grey ink was actually Pilot Iroshizuku Fuyu Syogun, which is a grey that I loved. But at the time when I wanted to refill or restock on greys, I could not justify the price of the Pilot bottle. So I said, you know what, let me go to the Old Faithful, an $8 bottle of Diamine ink, and I explored a bunch of different websites that show the writing samples, and this grey is what stood out to me the most. It seemed somewhat close to the grey that I was used to. It's a smidge darker than Fuyu Syogun, but I still like it. I may one day go a bit lighter, because Fuyu Syogun is a bit lighter than this, so I like having it. It's a nice change from black, of course, because it's grey, but I can still potentially go a bit lighter. So far I'm enjoying this though, and I think it's a great color also for drawing or sketching if you are that type of person. This is grey, just grey according to me, by Diamine. I like it inked up with this Moonman fountain pen. It's a really great combination, looks really nice together, very classic. Up next, a completely new brand to my lineup, Pen BBS. Pen BBS is a Taiwanese brand. They feature pens as well as inks, and I've actually always wanted to try one of their inks because they do look quite interesting and full of character, at least online. This one is Strawberry Shortcake. I won't lie to you, when I saw a writing sample online, it looked a smidge different to how it looks now, but the color shows up best and most in a very broad nib. So I actually tend to use this with my dip pens, my calligraphy dip pens, those I think it's steel nib pens, and it shows up a lot that way. But I'm also dipping it into a regular fountain pen that you'll see shortly, so that just for ease you can see how it writes. I don't have it inked up in anything as of the filming of the video, so I'm literally just dipping the nib of an empty pen into the bottle just for the sake of sampling, to show you what it looks like in a traditionally sized nib. So I'm going to show you here how it looks. The pen isn't quite matching, that's okay, it's just for the writing sample. So if you consider an ink from Pen BBS one of those lighter ones, do be warned that the ink shows up a bit darker the finer you go. So I think here what happened was some of the ink in the nib initially was showing up on the sample. So I'm going to switch inks in a bit so you can see what it actually looks like in a very empty pen. So here we have an actually empty pen, my Lamy Cream, and there you see it. This is a 1.1 sub nib, so it shows a bit more of the genuine color of the ink. and I enjoy it. I do. It's different from the norm. It's actually different from the Damson. I don't know if you can tell, but I love this ink a lot, and it was a purchase that I don't regret at all. Something different, something that's nice and fun. Back to the old faithful Diamine. This is teal. I've never had an official teal ink in my collection. I've tried to mix one when I had a very generic bottle of green and a very generic bottle of blue. It didn't really work out. I think I prefer to just buy inks now than experimenting with, you know, my little I guess science lab sort of habits of mixing things up and seeing how it goes. So this is my first teal, as I said, and what surprised me a lot about this ink is one day I wrote with it with a calligraphy nib once again, and it actually has some sheen. Surprise, surprise, there is some red sheen if you write with a big enough nib on this ink. I was stunned. I wasn't expecting it at all, but you don't see it when you write with a regular pen. It has to be a very large nib, and I'm making it up just at the nib with the same pen. I dried it off and everything, and here is the writing sample. I don't reach for this very much for some reason. I probably should write with it a lot more than I do, because looking at it here, I'm loving how it looks. I don't know why I don't reach for it as much as I normally would, but I'm gonna start writing with this a lot more because it's mysterious, it's fun, it's deep. I like it. Next we have Salamander, another green by Diamine. I guess you could say I'm aiming for greens again. So this is Salamander, one of my most recent inks. Another green. I felt like exploring how much deeper I could go with different iterations of an olive green. And Salamander has always been an ink that I've been curious about. Once again, dipped it in an empty nib just to experiment and show you the sample. I like the character of the ink. It is different, I will say, from the which one was it? It is different from the other, the Vert Empire, by a long shot. It's very different. It might seem the same, but it is not at all. This one is more of a muddy olive green, but I actually like that. I tend to journal with dark inks, and because, you know, it's easy to stick with like a dark blue or a dark purple, I just want to try as much as possible to have as many options of dark in my collection as I can. And this is a really good addition to my collection. You can't really see it too well. I will share something else sharing what it looks like a bit better for you in a side by side. But I do enjoy the ink, and I am glad that I purchased it. I'm looking forward to experimenting with this ink more in different nib sizes. So thank you for stopping by to meet some of the newbies in my collection. I know I didn't show every single one, just because there are a few that I've shown on the channel before, such as J Herbin Ruby Dark. You've seen that in the past, and a couple others. There are a few things I didn't show, like my new ink cartridges, because I've never used one of them yet, and that will be coming in the future, and I hope you stick around for that. Thanks for watching.